call your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of The Mediator with me, your host, Brian West. Here to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Now, as usual, give you the top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made it first, followed by a movie clip, a skit, a trailer, or something that's going on in the community, or maybe some pictures. And then I'll give you the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it, folks. So let's waste no time. Oh, yeah. Let's get to it. Story number 1. What happened in yet another Austintown standoff? The Austintown community is mourning another loss of one of its community members after a 3.5-hour standoff popped into top headlines. The entire incident exemplifies moments that we all wish we could have a second chance with. Now, precious smiles that we all try so hard to maintain is all in this story. Now, the story was reported in sympathy. That means that they did not identify the victim, which reminds us all to do our best to ask people how they're doing, especially family and friends, and check on them from time to time, and never forget to show love in times of need and at all times. That's why story number 1 made it this week. Story number 2, a spike in car thefts and what it means for local insurance policies. Youngstown is trying to rebrand itself as a city filled with happiness, love, peace. It's been trying to do that for a while. A better city to live. Because the city has a rich history, but crime, when it happens, it sticks in the minds of people, and it's very, very hard to get out. It's hard to undo. Now, the gun stories, the consistent errors, which that's been happening in the city, some involving the loss of life, and now a woman reports that she was carjacked at a Youngstown gas station. Now, the real story here is the fact that the woman pleaded with the carjackers, who, according to the story, did leave her house keys after she begged for them. Now, we got the story in the simple fact that Youngstown residents are in a fight to create better people, and like many inner city communities around the country, this is becoming very hard to do, a very hard challenge. That's why story number 2 made it this week. Story number 3, downtown work continues on. The work in downtown Youngstown has continued on after a May 28th gas explosion. This is according to a report by Davis Scolding in an article published October 19th. According to the report, work bids were low. That's what the report says. Now, the work includes repairing the roads, sidewalks, utilities, landscaping, plants, and other curb ramps and some other stuff, catch basins. Now, the report goes on with some vital information and timelines in hopes that nothing else will go wrong in the process of trying to beautify and remagnify downtown Youngstown. That's why story number 3 made it this week. Story number 4, the power is complete. It's completed. The completed construction of a new $12 million operations service center in North Jackson is in the headlines. 20,000 square feet of facility that will be used to streamline operations and maximize efficiencies along the local high voltage power system is now in operation. The report, published October 23rd, focuses on high hopes for the new power system. That's why story number 4 made it this week. Story number 5. Chaffin Career and Technical Center is in the spotlight. Dan Pompley has a report published October 19th focusing in on Youngstown City School District. The report says that the state report card was not good, but there is a but. That but is Chaffin Career and Technical Center is shining with potential. The story shows a plethora of one-star achievements, with Chaffin scoring 5 stars for post-secondary readiness and post-program outcomes, and 4 stars for its graduation rate. Now, one important fact stated in this report is the mention of what the report calls erasing the stigma. It means there's a stigma when you look at Youngstown and Youngstown City Schools, period. Now, this story is still developing and the bar is pretty high, but in a city with nothing to lose and everything to gain, there is always hope. That's why story number 5 made it this week. Story number 6, Mahoning County understands the importance of emergency crews, EMT workers. Now, if you did not know, Mahoning County has a vision for EMT workers, EMT period, emergency crews. And it comes at a price. Dan Pompley has a piece published October 23rd explaining how the county wants to join a statewide communication system. The goal for a multi-agency radio communication system comes at a fee to join of $1.3 million to $1.4 million, according to the report. Now, this story comes with expensive upgrades of towers and even new radios. EMT workers have stayed in top headlines. Such stories are still trending. The key talking point in this headline is the fact that council is in the process of seeking solutions for responders. That's why story number 6 also made it to the top 2 this week. Big. Story number 7 and the top 2 local headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Folks, yes, sometimes I have to shine my bald head before I come in here. That's how much I care about my audience. Shout out to Ken and Anna who came by the store. They say they watched the show, so shout out to some of the people who watch the show. I never know who's watching the show, but if you can't catch it, if you don't get up this early, I do upload the show to the website on YouTube, our YouTube page. And some people, like I said, the views are probably about maybe 1 or 2 or 18 views, but I'm still grateful. Story number 7, $1.8 million grant for Valley Tech. Ron Seelig Jr. has a headline published October 17th explaining how a $1.8 million grant is being aimed to grow high-tech industries in the Valley. The Youngstown Business Incubator will receive the money to help grow the microchips, advanced energy, defense, and aerospace industries across a 7-county region, which includes the Valley. Now, this story includes money spread across the board when it comes to investments into technology, folks. This story is still developing. That's story number 7. Also made it to the top this week. Big. Story number 8, the top local headline and developing news story that made it this week. Folks, I get dressed up for you. I try to make sure I study every story, read it twice, make sure I'm doing the right thing. And sometimes I may get things wrong, but if I do, I apologize. May pronounce some names wrong, but I'm human. So now that you know that, I'll get to this top story. Because it was baked, put in the oven, and freshly cooked just for you. Story number 8. What's going on at Trumbull Regional Medical Center and Hillside? Ron Seelig Jr. has a report out of Warren published October 22nd. According to the report, the new operator of Trumbull Regional Medical Center and Hillside Rehabilitation Hospital has laid off employees in what appears to be a restructure plan to keep the hospital afloat. The entire report shows a fight brewing between unions, workers, and a failed hospital chain and brand. Folks, this story is still developing. That's getting into the top this week because we're talking jobs and the fact that some people will be out of a job. The unemployment lines may be long. Well, folks, those are our top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that I made this week. I'll be right back with the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories. So don't you go anywhere. You're the Mediator with me, Brian West. I'll be right back.
Tune in and don't forget to subscribe to Method 8 Inc. YouTube channel. You can also watch free public entertainment. And don't forget to show some support by visiting www.method8inc.com by buying something, clicking something, watching something, or just reading something. You can also sponsor a program as well. That's www.method8inc.com. Buy stuff, watch stuff, or read stuff.
What does Method8Inc.com Media Center have that I need?
Small prints, event consulting, photography, business consulting, technical consulting, entertainment consulting, fundraising advice, event videography, movies, news, publishing, media, books, entertainment, acting, broadcasting, public relations, access to the visual and performing arts, ink and black ink refills, audio recording, graphic design, theater, minor computer and cell phone repair, and they're located at 5648 Market Street in Boardman, Ohio from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. every Monday through Friday. The list goes on and on.
Method8Inc.com. Buy stuff, watch stuff, or read stuff.
Oh yeah! And yes, we are chipmunks.
Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made this week, folks. It is Halloween. And I believe that holiday originates from Celtic tribes, if I'm not mistaken. And it's a day you celebrate the life of death, and some people make horror movies, and you probably see a lot of scary movies. You know what's scary? Is the way some of us have to live. You know, some of us have to lose our mother and father. Some of us have relatives who are on drugs. I mean, smoked out, like zombies everywhere. And there are people who live a life and they don't know what to do. Because this habit drains resources. Some of us come by, we see drug dealers every day, and we don't know how these people can have the stomach to do what they do. I mean, to sell the products. I mean, some of us have families who are members who are addicted to pills. And then you go overseas and you see the war bug, and you see innocent Palestinian children walking through a village, devastated, crying, praying to God. Folks, this life is scary, you know. It really is. And it makes you wonder, as you're living, is this it? Is this what we're supposed to live for? And you try to be grateful, you try not to see all this stuff, but it does change your thinking. It messes you up. You know, I can see why some people, why they make the decisions that they make, because they can't handle it. Some people get strung out, drunk. Then you have cancer. This is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So my advice is what an old English teacher once used to tell me. And she would say, Brian, how to survive. She's dead now. She would say, how do you get through life is you have to train your mind to be optimistic. Not everybody can do that. If you read, I said this before on the show before, if you read the mental health manual, the first lesson, if you read some of these manuals, they'll tell you how most people get through tragic events is they train their mind to think positive. Very hard to do in these unusual times, but I'm training my mind, folks. I'm doing my best. But Halloween is amongst us. And the scary story is, if you come in a room and you think that you're going to get bathed by nurses, and you think these beautiful nurses are going to carry you off into the mountains of heavenly gems, and you're going to be having a beautiful party with these beautiful nurses, and you're sitting in the room and you take your clothes off and they come in and they see you in your mental state, it could wake you up to reality, folks. And that is that they're just there to do their job, and they're going to put you on some medication, and you're not going to get that good old passionate threesome or orgy that you thought you were going to get. Well, folks, reality is scary. Check your bank account. That's wasting no time, folks. Let's get to it. Story number 1. Some people wish for stuff like that. Another drug alarm sounds in the entertainment business. Speaking of the situation, Halloween scariness, the entertainment news just keeps getting worse, with TMZ reporting that the toxicology test revealing that Liam Payne, who had pink cocaine in his system when he died in Argentina. I hope I pronounced that name right. Now, this adds to a long list of entertainers dying tragically after the singer, he fell to his death from a third-floor balcony at a Buenos Aires, Argentina hotel, thus adding to more pressure being put on the entertainment industry, the business. Folks, this is a brutal business where entertainers are on some serious stuff. And it's hard to say no to drugs, but that's what people are trying to get the new entertainment business to promote, folks. They're saying that in the report, ketamine, ecstasy, and crack were all mentioned in the report. And this is what was found, folks. The story adds to another sad life lost in a popular entertainment story, and a popular entertainer who has lost his life in a battle with drugs. That's why story number 1 made it this week. Story number 2. The infant death story is more serious than we think. Axios has a hard stat, and that is the fact that the infant death rates were higher than expected for several months after the Supreme Court struck down the federal right to abortion. The report goes on to say that the majority of the increase is coming from infants with birth defects, according to JAMA Pediatrics. Now, the data shows the states with more abortion restrictions being affected the most. Now, 18 months after the Supreme Court's Dobbs decision concluded, there were an average of 247 more deaths in October 2022, March 2023, and April of 2023. Now, corresponding to a 7% absolute increase in infant mortality. Now, there was a 10% increase in infant mortality with birth defects. Now, this data shows the abortion issue as a money pit that just keeps sinking lower and lower to the pit with no logical reasoning, but a conscious decision for a way out of the pit. Let's keep sinking. You keep sinking into this pit. There's bones, there's babies everywhere, people just making rash decisions, folks. The only physical seriousness is when you talk about physics or anything that could possibly explain the outcome of these decisions or what was happening in reality. The only physical seriousness is that if energy recycles itself, where does it go when it is aborted? Now, does it sit neutral, or does it transform into negative energy that used to have potential? That's the scary part about the story, is when children don't make it into the world consciously, and they're consciously aborted, where does that energy go? That's what's scary. That's why story number 2 made it. Story number 3. The pharmacy battle is brewing. You go to Walgreens and you see long lines with pharmacy techs scrambling for orders. You also hear customers discussing Rite Aid's legacy and little children coughing, waiting with their parents. Now, you also hear talk about local pharmacy businesses and what is being done about the medical gap that Rite Aid has left open. CNBC has a report claiming that Walmart will start delivering prescription drugs to customers' doorsteps as CVS and Walgreens struggle, thus proving that pharmacy executives could be in line to scoop up what is left of Rite Aid customers. That's why story number 3 made it this. Story number 4. Another bad UN report about Gaza. Folks, the news about Gaza, out of Gaza, gets worse every day. NBC News reports that children are being killed, men are being detained, and families are fleeing. The report says that people are just waiting to die. The Guardian reports that Gaza's economy would take 350 years to return to pre-conflict levels, folks. Story number 4. It's not going anywhere. It is real, folks. Well, folks, those are our top 4 international headlines developing news stories that made this week. I'm right back with top 4. So don't you go anywhere. The Mediator, me, Brian West. I'm right back. Tune in to Method H's YouTube channel to check out the top interviews that made it throughout the years and months. Visit Mediator.com. Check out all the community interviews if you want to check it out. Mediator.com. Buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Oh, yeah. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made this week, folks. Here is a reality check. I tell you, I do not do this for my health. This is very hard to do. I do not believe in the gimmicks that misery loves company. I do not do this because of that. Folks, I do this because I have to remind people every week that to be informed, there's power in that. Folks, there are things that are going on around you that even I did not know. Sometimes I come in here and I read and I'll be like, oh my God. But it enlightens you, makes you stronger, makes you better. A long time ago, my English teacher she said, Brian, she gave us an assignment, and this is a very scary topic because we're in the Halloween season. She said, Brian, who would you send to hell? When she gave us this assignment, it caused a riot in the school, in the classroom, because some people, well, that's my religion, that's what I feel. But folks, let me remind you that if you are doing news stories every week, top 8, the feelings sometimes go away. You become numb, and you face reality about how people think. I've come to the conclusion that young folks, because I'm getting older, may be unsympathetic. So I am preparing for a life at a nursery home, and I'm preparing to be able to make sure that my medical bills can be paid, because I don't know who's going to be with me at the finish line. And that's what's scary. A lot of us are living life, and our children are just as selfish as we were when we were kids. And there's not a lot of people who have empathy anymore. And I'm not going to lie, when you do this show, it reminds you. So this Halloween, what's scary is the fact that if some of us make it to 100 years old, we may see people that we thought were going to outlast us falling off the wagon. And that's what's scary. We can't save them all. You've got to be saved by love, 'cause love saved me. Woo! Let's waste no time, folks. It's close to midnight, and something people's jumping in the road. You start to scream, you can't make it. Let's waste some time. Let's get to it. Story number 5. An unfair immigration story for those who follow the rules. Another scary story. With stories emerging that over 11 million illegal immigrants are in the United States, which is more than the amount that came in 2023 legally. It was about 550,000. So many people came in illegally. Now the question now is, how can you make it fair for 11 million illegals compared to legals in America? This story is still developing as the immigration debate continues to make top headlines. That's number 5. Story number 6, America's housing problem. MoneyWise says that the Fed's 5% rate cut won't fix America's housing problem. 70% of Americans now reported that they think buying a home in 2024 is an unrealistic goal. This is according to an IPX study. The article explains how a housing shortage has driven up prices. In 2022, the U.S. had a housing shortfall of 4.5 million homes. That's up from 4.3 million the year before. That's why story number 6 also made it to the top 2 this week. Big. Story number 7 and the top 2 international headline and developing news stories that made it this week. Follow you to keep you informed. That's all I want to do is keep you informed. Story number 7. Got to say what? Got to keep going. Got to be Brian. Got to be nice. Got to be loved. Story number 7. What is the taxpayer saying? CNBC says that Trump's tax plan could exempt 93 million Americans from income taxes. The report goes on to explain how he plans to eliminate taxes on tips and Social Security benefits, exempt firefighters, police, and military personnel. The article goes on to say that Trump feels that the lost tax revenue will be accounted for with tariffs, but experts say otherwise. The more these stories surface, the more it looks like the taxpayer really has no way out, folks. The taxpayer's misery could remain in top headlines as money continues to be a top priority, with presidential hopefuls full of unrealistic ideas, because either way, someone has to pay, folks. Trump has pledged to impose a 20% universal tariff on all imports from other countries. Well, from all countries, with a specific 60% rate from Chinese imports, folks. Experts say that Trump's tariffs would raise approximately $3.8 trillion over the next decade, far less than the roughly $33 trillion of estimated revenue generated by income taxes over the same period as stated in the report, which basically says it doesn't look good. Story number 7 always made to the top this week. Big meeting. Story number 8 to the top. International headline and developing news story that made this week for you. Keep you informed. Gotta do it. Gotta do it. Story number 8. Gotta get up, lift weights, get stronger, run laps just for this lovely, lovely top 8 story. Who can afford another war? Not the U.S. Business Insider has a headline that claims that the United States can ill afford another war, according to a U.S. general. This is according to General Charles Flynn. If a conflict breaks out, what he says, if a conflict breaks out in East Asia, the U.S. can't possibly afford it, folks. The report goes on to explain the current war is going on and how some experts believe that the U.S. military is overstretched. The question now is, does the enemy know this? The story is still developing. This is story number 8 made to the top this week. Well, folks, there are top 8 local and international headlines and developing news stories that made this week. I hope you got something out of today's program. I always get something done on the research. As usual, I like to thank all the news outlets, journalists, people on the front lines. You deserve all the credit. I'm just a mediator. If you want to show some support here at Method 8, it does not take much. All you do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or to sponsor a program. Or you can stop at the store at 5648 Market Street in Boardman, Ohio, and see my smiling face, maybe buy something in the store. Well, folks, I am out of here. Have a good Halloween. I hope you spend it with family and friends. It's no fun if you don't have kids. Have fun with them kids. And I hope it's safe. I'm out of here. Have a good weekend. Thank you for tuning to the Mediator this week with me, Brian West. Peace.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.